Defining a concise skill set for product designer is more challenging than you think. Good interface, designing skills, UX research abilities, maybe some coding experience, connecting business and user needs, and so on. Of course, skill demands are constantly evolving, and we can't know what will be the next big thing, but what I can advise you today is to invest in learning data. Now, let's define what I mean by data. It's a pretty broad term, so I will explain what I mean through examples. Let's say you have a project to implement a new feature. Designing just one version and then implementing it is dangerous. If you have resources to avoid that, that's awesome. A better way is to decide how are you gonna measure success. And keep in mind that business metrics is not the same as design metrics. They can overlap, sure, but design data doesn't care if your button or a funnel works. They are looking at the outcome, but don't provide an answer to why some number is like that. Now that you know what success means to you and your team, the next step is to work with your team to figure out what events need to happen in your app in order to get data that will eventually show you if you are succeeding or failing. For example, I like to sit down with a developer and data analyst and put notes in Figma around my design explaining what events happen in the app. After the app collects those events, you can make your dashboard and see how your design actually works. For example, let's take registration funnel and conversions are not good. They are low. If you're tracking buttons and views, which you should, it's easy to see from which point in a funnel user churns. You can propose a different flow or interface design and test what happens with those. The point is that you can iterate until you are happy with the results. Without proper data instrumentation, you wouldn't know what is happening with your design. Then everybody in company would wonder why the company doesn't grow and wouldn't learn why. Whatever platform you're working on, there are tons of analytical tools. Google Analytics is free and probably the most popular. I would, however, recommend something else because if a product is free, then you are the product. There are more options for websites and web apps than mobile apps, but what can you do? I will share some resources with you, so you will want to pause and take a screenshot in 3, 2, 1. I talked a lot about quantitative data here. But that doesn't explain too much of a why to a designer. So we need to crunch some qualitative data, meaning listening to what users have to say. In bigger companies, you can find UX researcher who is doing interviews and surveys with the users. However, as a product designer, you should be able to do it to some extent yourself. If you're analytical and technical person combined with talkative personality, then this should be quite easy task for you, in my humble opinion. But for all other personalities out there, there are plenty of tutorials and examples of questions you can ask from your users. My best advice here is not to ask leading questions. That means whatever you're asking, don't nudge users to a certain direction. You want honest answers here, and there are no wrong answers. Everything is valuable for you. I think it's quite evident by now that I'm a strong advocate for data-driven design. The more you know how your users are using an app and what is actually happening there, better chances of designing an app with amazing user experience that will help your company reach business goals and actually thrive in the market. Also, a good side effect of data-driven design is avoiding bias and designing for yourself and having good, solid arguments why you design something in a certain way. It will definitely help you when you have a room full of people with their own opinions and everybody wants to push their agenda, what they like, what they think is the best. But when you have numbers, science, then nobody can say, let's do it this way because I like it, or let's do it this way because I have a hunch or something like that. Of course, don't marry with the data like 100%. Sometimes it's okay to listen to your gut, because as designers, we develop this inner feeling what might work well. So I would say, 90% work with data, 10% allow crazy dreams and visions to influence your design. And I'm actually doing all the things I talked about here, and I hope that my views where our jobs are heading are useful to you. We should always learn something, so maybe this is an inspiration or an idea for you what to learn next, maybe even this year. And before you go, consider subscribing if you like my content, if you want to learn more about product design startups, scale-ups, unicorns, and just how to be a good product designer. Leave also a thumbs up for this video if you think it's worthwhile for others to watch as well. And that's it. Until next time, Chowski!